Welcome to the video of India Relief Features, Social Paper 1 of Andhra Pradesh State Syllabus. Now let us examine what is relief feature. Relief, the meaning itself shows the physical features. The physical features such as plateau, desert, river, delta, canyon, islands, peninsula, archipelago, so on. When we study the relief features, one of the important thing is that location of that area is very important. How to find the location of an area? It's using the latitudes and longitudes, and also we see in which hemisphere the country is located. To find out the location of a place, we need two parameters. They are latitudes and longitude. The first parameter is latitudes. They are the imaginary horizontal lines over the globe or the earth is known as the latitudes. They are also known as parallel as they are parallel to each other. The 0 degree latitude, that is the middlemost latitude, and the biggest latitude, that is known as equator. From the equator to the North Pole, there are 90 latitudes, and from the equator to the South Pole, there are 90 latitudes. So totally there are 180 latitudes are there on the globe. The second parameter in global positioning system to find the exact location of a place is that of longitudes. They are the imaginary vertical lines over a globe or earth is known as longitudes or meridians. The middlemost longitude or meridian is known as the prime meridian. Opposite to prime meridian, the longitude is known as anti-meridian. And there are 360 meridians are present on a globe. They are used for finding out the exact location as well as they are the base for fixing the time zone. Now, the question comes to our mind is what is a hemisphere? Sphere means a circle. Half of a sphere is known as the hemisphere. So, we can divide a circle in two ways. That is, one horizontally or vertically. If we divide the globe horizontally, the upper portion is known as the northern hemisphere and the downside portion is known as the southern hemisphere. So here we see India is located here. So India is in the northern hemisphere. Suppose if we take the division, vertical division, then we will see India is located on the eastern hemisphere. On the left hand side, that is the western hemisphere, and on the right hand side, that hemisphere is known as the eastern hemisphere. Now let us talk about the location of India. So India is located in the northern as well as the eastern hemisphere. If you take the hemisphere as the parameter, India is located in the northern hemisphere as well as in the eastern hemisphere. Location of a place is determined with the help of longitudes and latitudes. So exact longitude and latitude if we find here, that is India lies in between 8 degree 4th and 37 degrees 6th northern latitudes. And if we take the longitudes as the parameter, India lies between 68 degrees 7th and 97 degree 25th east longitudes. In this picture also, we will see the hemispheres only. We can see this is the middlemost longitude, that is the prime meridian. On the base of that, it is divided into western hemisphere and eastern hemisphere. India is in the eastern hemisphere. If you take the middlemost latitude, that is equator, on the base of that, if we take the hemisphere, the upper portion is known as the northern hemisphere and the downside portion is the southern hemisphere. So if we look like that, India is in the northern hemisphere. Here in this picture also you can see the location of India. India is lying in between which latitudes? Here you see 37 degrees 6 minutes north latitude, and here you can see 8 degree 4 minutes north latitude, because India lies in the northern hemisphere, so in between two northern latitudes. The same longitudes, if you take, India lies in between two longitudes, that is eastern longitudes, that is 68 degree 7 minutes eastern longitude and 97 degree 25 minutes eastern longitudes. And in this picture, one more information that you can get is India's vertical length and horizontal length. So the vertical length is 2933 kilometers, that is the width of India, and the height of the India, that is 3214 kilometers. Now let us talk about the time zones. So here the time is calculated on the basis of longitude. This is the 0 degree longitude, and that is known as Greenwich Mean Time. After that, here you can see this is the India's time zone, that is 82.5 degree eastern longitude is considered as the Indian Standard Time, IST, Indian Standard Time. The difference between these two is 5 hours 30 minutes. How is this calculated? It is calculated on the basis of the longitude. If you want to move 1 degree longitude, it takes 4 minutes. So here the difference is 82 degree 30 minutes. Longitudinal difference is there. So if we calculate according to the 4 minutes base, it will be approximately 5 hours 30 minutes. So the difference between GMT and IST is 5 hours 30 minutes. It is plus. Why? Because it is on the east side, that is why it is plus. If we are moving to the west side, it will be minus. Here what we can see is the full form of IST, that means Indian Standard Time, and the full form of GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. It is based on London. You can see the IST passes through India, and which is the important city touches the IST, that is Allahabad. And if we come to Andhra Pradesh, the main city on IST is Kakinada. What is IST? It is the 82.5 degree eastern longitude. Here we can see that the easternmost state of India is Arunachal Pradesh and westernmost state of India is Gujarat. In between these two states, there is 30 degree longitudinal difference is there. So if you want to travel 1 degree longitude, it takes 4 minutes. So 30 degree, if we want to travel, means 30 into 4 is equal to 120 minutes. That is equal to 2 hours. So actually the time difference between Arunachal Pradesh and Gujarat is 2 hours. But in both the places, the clock shows the same time. Why? Because the middlemost longitude of India, that is 82.5 degree east north eastern longitude, is considered as the Indian Standard Time. That time is followed by all the states in India. That is why the time difference is not shown between these two states. We have learned about the India's location. Now let us look into the location of Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh lies in between 12 degree 41 minutes northern and 22 degree northern latitudes. And when we come to the longitudinal difference, that is 77 degree east longitude and 84 degree 40 minutes eastern longitudes. And if we take the IST, that passes through the city Kakinada in Andhra Pradesh. Being a coastal state, that means it is near to the sea, Bay of Bengal. So that area, coastal area, is 972 kilometers. Now let us move to the Indian states and capitals. As of March 2020, in India there are 28 states and 8 union territories. Here you can see the map with the Indian states and capitals. Along with that, you can see the union territories also. Presently, India is having 28 states and 8 union territories. Here you can see the list of states and capitals of India. Andhra Pradesh, Amaravati, Arunachal Pradesh, Itanagar, Assam, Dispur, Bihar, Patna, Chhattisgarh, Naya Raipur, Goa, Panaji, Gujarat, Gandhinagar, Haryana, Chandigarh, Himachal Pradesh, Shimla, Jharkhand, Ranchi, Karnataka, Bengaluru, Kerala, Thiruvananthapuram, Madhya Pradesh, Bhopal, Maharashtra, Mumbai, Manipur, Imphal, Meghalaya, Shillong, Mizoram, Aizawl, Nagaland, Kohima, Odisha, Bhubaneswar, Punjab, Chandigarh, Rajasthan, Jaipur, Sikkim, Gangtok, Tamil Nadu, Chennai, Telangana, Hyderabad, Tripura, Agartala, Uttar Pradesh, Lucknow, Uttarakhand, Dehradun, West Bengal, Kolkata. Now the Union Territories. Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Port Blair. Chandigarh, Chandigarh. Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman Diu, Daman. Delhi, New Delhi. Lakshadweep, Kavaratti. Puducherry, Pondicherry. Jammu and Kashmir, Srinagar in summer, Jammu in winter. Ladakh, Leh. Now let us study the geological background of India. Millions of years back, there was only one continent that was known as Pangaea. Due to tectonic plates formation and their movement, the continents were formed. So there was only one supercontinent. It was known as Pangaea, approximately 335 million years ago. And Pangaea was surrounded by a global ocean. There was only one ocean that was known as Pandalasa. About 200 million years ago, Pangaea broke into two new continents. They are Laurasia and Gondwana. Then, at that time, Indian Peninsula was a part of Gondwana land. About 90 million years ago, the Indian plate began moving north at about 15 centimeter per year. About 50 to 55 million years ago, the plate collided with Asia after covering a distance of 2000 to 3000 kilometers, having moved faster than any other non-plate. In 2007, German geologists determined that the Indian plate was able to move so quickly because it is only half as thick as the other plates. The collision with the Eurasian plate along the modern border between India and Nepal formed the orogenic belt that was created the Tibetan Plateau and the Himalayas. Due to this collision, there uh, originated a new folded mountains that is known as Himalayas. Here in this picture, you can see the continental drift of plates. About 225 million years ago, there was only one continent that is called Pangaea. Then, about 150 million years ago, it started dividing into two continents. One is Laurasia, north side it is Laurasia, south side Gondwana. So, South Indian portion, the peninsula, was part of Gondwana land. Later, 100 million years ago, again the plates started drifting away. So, at that time, the Indian peninsula moved towards the north. And finally, this is the picture of the present continents look like. So now the India joined to the Asian plate. The geology of the Himalaya is record of the most dramatic and visible creation of modern plate tectonic forces. The Himalayas were formed as a result of the collision between the Indian plate and the Eurasian plate. As a result of this collision, the sedimentary rocks which were settled in the large scale depression in the Earth's crust called Tethys were folded and formed the Himalayas. Here you can see a better picture of the formation of Himalayas. From the sea, it moved towards the north and collided with the Eurasian plate. So here you can see that is the folding, the mountain. These are the Himalayan mountains. This is the plate collision formation of the Himalayas. This is in a graphic model. The ocean crust was distracted beneath the Asia until the continent crust collided. The collision of the Eurasian and Indian continent plates result in the lofty Himalayas. Because of the pressure from both sides, it is caused for the formation of the folded mountains. Thus, the Himalayas were formed. Now let us come to the India's relief features. So India's relief is divided into six. They are the Himalayas, Indo-Gangetic Plain, Peninsular Plateau, the coastal plains, Thar Desert, and the islands. The Himalayas are divided further into three: Himadri, Himachal, Shivaliks. The northernmost portion is the Himadri. We will discuss later. The Indo-Gangetic Plain again divided into three: the western part, the central part, and the eastern part. Peninsular Plateau is divided into two: Malwa Plateau on the northern side and Deccan Plateau on the southern side. The coastal plains. On the west side there are coastal plain. They are the western coastal plain. On the eastern side there are coastal plain is there. That is eastern coastal plain. Due to three sides surrounded by ocean or sea, it is known as a peninsula also. The Thar Desert. There is only one desert in India. That is Thar Desert. There are two groups of islands in past part of India. That one is on the eastern side. That is Andaman and Nicobar Islands. One is on the western side, in the Arabian Sea. That is Lakshadweep Islands. The social first paper will have a lots of map pointing questions will come from the first chapter itself, that is especially from the India's relief features. So this slide will give you a better idea about the India's physical features. Himalayas on the top, Indo-Gangetic Plain in this area, and Peninsular Plateau on the downside. Peninsula, three sides covered by ocean, sea. That is why. Coastal plains. This is the western coastal plain. This is the eastern coastal plains. Desert, only one desert, that is in Rajasthan state. Then islands, there are two groups of islands. This is in the Arabian Sea, there is Lakshadweep Islands, and on the eastern side, Andaman Nicobar Islands. The Himalayas consist of three parallel ranges. The northernmost range is the Himadri range, the middle range is Himachal range, and the southernmost range is the Shivaliks range. Their width is also different. Their length is to around 2500 kilometers. Their width differ from 500 kilometer in the western region. Western region has more width to the compared to the eastern region. The northernmost range Himadri, the middle range Himachal, and the southernmost range is the Shivaliks. Three parallel ranges. These ranges are separated with deep valleys and extensive plateaus. In between these two ranges, there will be valleys. Deep valleys are there. Here you can see the Himalayan system. The northernmost range, they are the highest ranges, more than 4,600 meters height, and due to the lesser Himalayas, that is the 3,600 to 4,600 meters height range, and the Shivaliks, which are about 900 to 3000 meters height is there, and downside portion, that is the Terai, that is around 300 meters height. The northernmost range in Himalayas is known as the Himadri range. So they are also known as the Himadri or the Greater Himalayas. The average elevation is about 6,100 meters. They are covered with snow. Himadri or the Greater Himalayas is the highest mountain range of the Himalayan system. It's part of Alpide belt. The world highest peak, Mount Everest, and other near highest peaks, Kanchenjunga, Lhotse, Nanga Parbat, etc., are part of the Greater Himalayas. The total west to east extension of the Greater Himalayas is 2,400 kilometers, and their average elevation is 6,100 meters, that is 20,000 feet. They are home of many glaciers like Gangotri Glacier, Satobang Glacier. Melting glacier is the main source of perennial rivers. Then do you know what is a glacier? Glacier is a persistent body of dense ice that is constantly moving under its own weight. It's a snow coverage otherwise. Here you can see the picture of the Gangotri Glacier. Now let us move to the Lesser Himalayas or Himachal. The range found south to the Greater Himalayas are known as the Lesser Himalayas. Average height between 3,700 to 4,500 meters. Here what we have to notice is the famous ranges in Lesser Himalayas are Pir Panchal and Mahabharata ranges. There are so many famous valleys are there, such as Kashmir, Kangra, Kulu, etc. There are world famous hill stations are there, Simla, Mussoorie, Nainital, Ranikhet, so on. This is the picture of the Mahabharata range. Here you can see the picture of the Pir Panchal range. Here is a picture from Shimla. Here it is one of the picture clicked from Nainital. This is a photo taken from famous hill station Ranikhet. Now let us move to the Shivaliks. The southernmost range of Himalayas are known as Shivaliks. Shivaliks extend over the width of 10 to 15 kilometers and have an altitude varying between 900 meters to 1100 meters. Northeastern region, it is known as Purvanchal. They have different names in different regions. Jammu Hills in Jammu region, Mishmi Hills in Arunachal Pradesh, Kachar in Assam. Now, Himalayas and climate of India. Himalayas are the reason for the present climate in India. They act as the barriers protecting from the great plains from the cold winds of Central Asia. Reason for the summer rains. They are the reason for summer rains and monsoon type of climate. They are the origin place of perennial rivers. Here is a picture of dune. What is a dune? Dune is a local word for valley. Dunes are lying between Lesser Himalayas and Shivaliks. Examples: Dehradun, Kotli Dune, Patli Dune, etc. Now let us come to an important question from this area, that is, what is the influence of Himalayas on Indian agriculture? The Himalayas have a very important role in Indian agriculture. The Himalayan rivers have a perennial flow, that means it flows throughout the year, so they are fed by the glaciers and bring a lot of silt, making the Indo-Gangetic plains very fertile. The Himalayas act as a barrier protecting the Great Plains of India from the cold winds of Central Asia during severe winter. This helps Indian agriculture. The Himalayas are reason for summer rains and monsoon type of climate in India. The Himalayas act as a huge reservoir of water for the North Indian rivers. These great rivers carry alluvium from the Himalayas, thus it promotes agricultural production. This region is suitable for construction of multi-purpose projects which provide irrigation facilities to Indian agriculture. The slope of the Himalayas offer terraced cultivation to tea plantation can be taken up on the hill slopes. A wide variety of fruits like apple, grapes, walnut, peaches, apricot, etc. are also grown in the Himalayan region. Thus, Himalayan region always support the Indian agriculture, which is the backbone of our economy. Now let us move to Indo-Gangetic Plain. 20 million years ago, it was a shallow basin gradually filled with varied alluvial soil by the three rivers from Himalayas. Here is the Indus River, here it is the Ganga River, and from this side it flows the Brahmaputra River. Because of the flowing of these rivers from the Himalayas, they formed a big plain. So it is divided into three divisions. That is, the western part formed by Indus River and its tributaries, and in the middle, that is the central part formed by Ganga and its tributaries, and on the eastern side, it is formed by Brahmaputra River. Here you can see a better picture, that is the Punjab plains, that is the western side. Major portion of this is in Pakistan right now, formed by Indus and its tributaries Beas, Chenab, Jhelum, Ravi and Satluj. The middle portion, that is formed by Ganga plain, it is in the states like Haryana, Delhi, UP, Bihar and parts of Jharkhand and West Bengal lie in Ganga plain. This is formed by the Ganga and its tributaries. It is the largest part of the northern plains, and the eastern portion, that is formed by Brahmaputra plains, Brahmaputra river, lie mainly in Assam and is built by Brahmaputra and its tributaries. Here in this picture, again you can see this portion, the western portion. It is formed by Indus and its tributaries. We can see the central part, the main portion of the Indo-Gangetic plain. It is formed by Ganga and its tributaries from Gaggar to Teesta, spread in UP, Bihar, Haryana, Jharkhand and West Bengal. Here the river Ganga and Yamuna and their tributaries are shown in this picture. And the eastern part, as you can see, it is on the eastern side of India. Mainly it is formed in the state of Assam. Here is an important concept, that is Babar. The Himalayan rivers, while flowing down, deposit gravel and pebble sediments in a narrow belt of 8 to 16 kilometers width found parallel to the foothills of Shivaliks. This feature is known as Babar. When the Himalayan rivers are flowing, the sediments, pebbles, that will be deposited, and through depositing that there is a narrow belt was formed. That narrow belt is known as Babar and it is porous in nature, that means hollow. Here you can see the picture of a Babar. You can see the pebbles and sediments deposited by the river. Terai. Small rivers and streams flow underground through Babar and reappear in the lower areas and form a swampy and marshy region called Dor. So this swampy and marshy region is called as Terai. Here you can see the picture, swampy and marshy region. This region had thick forests, rich variety of wildlife. However, owing to the migrations at the time of India's partition, most of the Terai zone has now been cleared and used for agricultural operations. South of the Terai region, fine alluvial plains regions are found. Here comes an important question from this area, that is why Indo-Gangetic plains have high density of population. The main reason is that it is formed by river, that means water presence is there. mainly the rivers Indus, Ganga, and Brahmaputra. So, water availability is there. Second, it is very much suitable for agricultural operations. Fine alluvial soil is present. So, another feature is that dope feature. That means fertile land between two rivers. In between two rivers, there are fertile land is there, which is attracting the people to settle there. Another important reason is that there are the availability of water is very much, the multi-purpose projects are there, and it is plain area. It is very easy for the people to construct roads or any other things very fastly. They can transport from one areas to another. So automatically the settlements develop there, and this region provides timber, fuel wood, fodder, medicine, etc. Transport was also well developed. Because of these reasons, Indo-Gangetic plains have high density of population. Now let us move to Peninsular Plateau. It is otherwise known as Deccan Plateau. This is a substantial area to the south of Satpura Range. The plateau is bounded. The boundaries of the Deccan Plateau is the eastern side Eastern Ghats, on the western side Western Ghats, and the northern side it is Vindhya Range. Deccan's average elevation is about 2000 feet. That means 600 meters. In this peninsular plateau, there are lots of rivers are there. Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri. They flow from Western Ghats towards the east. Tiruvannamalai in Tamil Nadu is often regarded as the southern gateway of Deccan Plateau. The portion of Peninsular Plateau lying south of the Narmada, which is a triangular landmass, is called the Deccan Plateau. Here you can see the Deccan Plateau. The triangular plateau is known as the Deccan Plateau, and here the northern boundary Vindhya mountain ranges, and downside portion you can see the Mount Anaimudi is there, and there are two more plateaus are there on the west side, that is Malwa Plateau, you can see here, and there is Chota Nagpur Plateau also. Let us now discuss about the Deccan Plateau in detail. In this picture you can see all the physical features of India: Himalayas, Indo-Gangetic Plain, the desert, here the plateaus, the coastal areas, guard sections, everything. So when we concentrate to the Deccan Plateau, you can see on the western boundary is the Western Ghats, and the eastern boundary is the Eastern Ghats. On the top of that, the northern boundary is the Vindhya mountains. Downside, if we see the boundary here, the connection is Nilgiri hills. The famous hill station in this area is the Ooty, Nilgiri. Highest peak in Western Ghat is Doda Beta, it is here. And highest peak in Eastern Ghat is the Aravekonda, that is shown here. So these are the important things that we have to notice from this picture. Now let us see the features of Western Ghats. The Western Ghats lie parallel to the west coast. The Western Ghats are continuous with few passes. The Western Ghats are higher than Eastern Ghats. The Western Ghats extend for 1600 kilometers. Near Gudalur, the Nilgiri joins the Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. The famous hill station Udagamangalam, Ooty, is located in Nilgiris. Doda Beta is the highest peak in Western Ghats. Western Ghats include Anaimalai, Palani, Tamil Nadu, and Cardamom Hills in Kerala. Anaimudi, 2695 meters of Anaimalai Hills, is the highest peak in South India. Rivers that originate in Western Ghats like Godavari and Krishna. Now let us look at the features of Eastern Ghats. The Eastern Ghats extend from Mahanadi to Nilgiris. The Eastern Ghats are not continuous. Rivers cut across the plateau and join the Bay of Bengal. The average height of the Eastern Ghats is only 900 meters. The highest peak, Aroikonda, is found at Chintampalli. The height is 1680 meters in Andhra Pradesh. Nallamala Hills, Velikondas, Palkondas, and Seshachalam are some of the hills in these tracts. One of the remarkable features of peninsular plateau is black soil and formed due to volcanic activity. Now let us examine one question. Plateau regions in India do not support agriculture as much as the plain regions. What are the reasons for this? What is the difference between plateau region and the plain region? The main difference is availability of water. Plateau regions in India do not support agriculture as much as the plain regions. It is an area of fairly high level ground of the surrounding area. A plain region are more suitable for agriculture as plain is a low lying land with a leveled surface. The physical features of plateau are not supportive to the agriculture. The rugged surface of plateau makes irrigation difficult. The plain has more suitable irrigation facilities. The plateau region does not have any perennial rivers. The plains have a number of rivers. The plains have fertile lands that are drained by rivers. Large part of agricultural activity is taken up in the fertile plains than in plateau regions. The plateaus are often suffer from insufficient rainfall. The plains are formed with alluvial soil which are very fertile, whereas the plateau are covered by thin and light tortured soil which are less fertile. The plateau regions are rich in mineral deposits, whereas the plains are more suitable for agriculture. Now let us move to the desert. The only desert in India is Thar Desert. Let us now discuss about the Thar Desert. You can see the Thar Desert is located here and it is in the state of Rajasthan. It is on the leeward side of Aravalli mountain ranges, and Aravalli mountain ranges are the oldest folded mountains in India, and the only river in this desert is River Loni, and it receives only very less amount of rainfall, that is ranging from 100 to 150 millimeters per year. Now, in order to irrigate the desert area, they made a big canal, long canal, that is known as Indira Gandhi Canal. That is the longest canal in the country. It is around 650 kilometers, watering a part of Thar Desert. Hence, several hectares of the desert land have been brought under cultivation. Here is a picture of a settlement in Thar Desert. You can see the areas of Thar Desert. This is another picture of the Thar Desert and their settlement. Now let us move to the coastal plains. We have two coastal areas. One is on the Bay of Bengal side and another is on the Arabian Sea side. That is, on the west side we have the Konkan coast. It is the coastal area comprised of Maharashtra and Goa, and second one here is the coast of Karnataka, that is called Canara coast, and the third one, that is Malabar coast, the coast of Kerala. Now on the east side, the coast of Tamil Nadu, that is known as Coromandel coast, and the coast of Andhra Pradesh, that is called Sirkar coast, and the coast of Odisha, that is known as Utkal coast. Here we discuss about the western coastal plains. As you see, on the western side of India, near to the sea, there are Gujarat, Maharashtra and Goa, Karnataka, Kerala. So there is no special name given to the coast of Gujarat. There are two gulfs are there, Gulf of Kutch and the Gulf of Kambat. Now the coastal plain of Maharashtra and Goa is known as Konkan coast. The coastal area of Karnataka is known as Canara coast. The coast of Kerala is known as the Malabar coast. Now let us discuss about the eastern coastal plains. Here you can see the eastern coastal plains. On the top there is the coast of Odisha, that is known as Utkal coast, and here it is the coast of Andhra Pradesh, it is known as Sirkar coast, and here it is the coastal plain of Tamil Nadu, that is known as the Coromandel coast, and it is near to the Bay of Bengal. Here we point out some important lakes in India. You can see Pulikat Lake, the Kolleru Lake, Chilka Lake, Sambar Lake, and Vular Lake. These are some of the important lakes in India. Here comes an important question. What is the difference and similarities between eastern coastal plain and western coastal plain? Both are coastal plain, that is the similarity, but in size, shape, area, both are different. Availability of water, river, so all these things they have differences are there. Both lies on different sides. One is on the west side, one is on the east side. The eastern coastal plains are broad. They are there are so many rivers are there, so there is very fertile land is there, delta is there, so many lakes are there. So these are the important features of the eastern coastal plain. When we move to the western coastal plain, they are very narrow, they are less fertile, there are no major rivers engaged in this area, but they receive highest rainfall. There are no major rivers there, no major lakes are there. So these are the important similarities and differences of the coastal plain. Now let us move to the islands. There are two groups of islands are there. One is on the eastern side, that is the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. One is on the western side, that is known as the Lakshadweep. Here comes the Andaman and Nicobar Island. In this, Narcondam and Barren are volcanic origin, and the southernmost tip of India is known as Indira Point. This is a picture of the Andaman and Nicobar Island. Now let us move to Lakshadweep Island. It is only of 32 square kilometers. Now let us see the features of Lakshadweep Islands. The Lakshadweep Islands are of coral origin. You can see these are the coral reefs, and there is a great variety of flora and fauna are present in this area. The important concepts are explained here. Perennial, flowing throughout the year. Coral reefs, that is an underwater ecosystem made of calcium carbonate. Coastal plains, the plains situated near the coastal area. Peninsula, a piece of land which is surrounded by water on three sides. Laurasia, it was the northernmost of two continents that was formed as a part of Pangaea supercontinent from approximately 200 million years ago. Another important concept is that Ankara land, this is the landmass north to the Tethys Sea. Gondwana land, the landmass south to the Tethys Sea. Shivaliks, the southernmost range of Himalayas, otherwise known as Outer Himalayas. Purvanchal, beyond Dihang Valley, the Himalayas take a hairpin bend and act as the eastern boundary of India. This division are known as the Purvanchal. Leeward side, towards the side of sheltered from the wind is leeward side. In the picture you can understand very well what is the leeward side. This is the wind, so opposite to that area is known as the leeward side. Here some map pointing questions are given. How to practice in a blank map. Islands formed by volcanic eruption, Narcondam and Barren. The countries constituting Indian subcontinent, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Nepal, Bhutan, Pakistan, Tibet, Myanmar. They are the neighboring countries of India also. The state through which the Tropic of Cancer passes. They are Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, West Bengal, Tripura, and Mizoram. The northernmost latitude in degrees. The northernmost latitude in degrees are 37 degrees 6 minutes north latitude. The southernmost latitude of Indian mainland in degrees. The southernmost latitude of Indian mainland is 8 degree 4 minutes north latitude on the Indian map. The eastern and westernmost longitudes. When we have learned about the location of India, it is already shown there. The place situated on the three seas, that is Kanyakumari. It is situated near to the three seas, that is Indian Ocean, Arabian Sea, and the Bay of Bengal. The strait separating Sri Lanka from India, Park Strait. The Union territories in India, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Chandigarh, Dadra Nagar Haveli, Lakshadweep, National Capital Territory, that is Delhi, Puducherry, Jammu and Kashmir, and Ladakh. Here is again a picture for your reference. The important physical features of India are here. You can see here is the Park Strait, here is Gulf of Mannar, and this is Gulf of Kambad, Gulf of Kutch or Rann of Kutch, Thar Desert, Aravalli Mountains, Vindhya Range, Satpuraj Range, Chota Nagpur Plateau, and here this is the Deccan Plateau. This is Bay of Bengal. Here that is Arabian Sea. Here you can see the Himalayas, rivers, and the neighboring country China here. Here it is Pakistan. Here Bangladesh, Myanmar. Here is the Andaman and Nicobar Island, and the downward portion, that is the Indira Point. So an outline map of India show the following: mountain and hill ranges. Almost all the mountain ranges are given here. Peaks are given: K2, Kanchenjunga, Nanga Parvat. You have to practice this on a blank Indian map. Thank you for watching the video.